So thank you very much and good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our Monday workshop, another beautiful section. And in our previous workshop, spoke about advanced concepts of TypeScript, which I introduced you to very two important, though basic types and interface. We saw what both of them can do. Also, there's some examples to show how we can use them and how useful it is to our code. So today we'll be moving a bit further. So we'll be taking control flow. So under this control flow, we'll be taking the conditional statement and the loops. So today our agenda is the control flows, conditional statements and loops. Then we'll take question as usual. Alright. So first question you will ask, what is control flow? So we are talking about control flow. What does control flow mean? So that this determines how code executes step by step. Alright. So this is exactly what makes this program run. Like when I click on this, something happens. If I click this first and I click the next one second, this will run, next one will run. So you can see that these things are working, executing my command. Like I say, click to open, or I press a key to type. These are commands, these are codes given to my PC or my computer. Right? So this control flow is what enables us to make those decisions. Is what enables us to make those decisions. Right? So if I makes decision and repeat action, so I can keep clicking on this and something will keep happening because there's a condition I've given that as long as I'm clicking, keep doing this. Then you can see that I'm controlling whatever is happening. Alright, so these two main types considering the conditional statements and the loops. So first, let's talk about the conditional statement. So the overview of this conditional statement we're talking about the if, the common types. So this is used to make decision based on conditions. So we're talking about the if else if, and the switch, just like our normal English. Alright, when you say if, is more or less a condition. You are trying to make a statement, conditional statement. So you are giving a condition for something to happen. Whenever they say if, that means there is a condition to be met before whatever comes in. So that is something happening here. So it's just like a normal English grammar, the same rules, similar rules. Alright? They just translate to code. So just take this like a normal regular thing you see, normal way of life. Alright, so you can give a condition if something. So only if can be true or can be successful if only the condition is met. Or otherwise, when we give another thing, say else. Just imagine I say, um, if I get to 18 years, I will get myself a new phone. X, I use something else. So you can say I've given myself a condition until I get to 18 years, I'm not getting a new phone for myself. Right? But if that condition is false, that means it's not true, the X will run to say, oh, yes, I'll get something else. That is how these conditions work. Alright, so take them one after the other. The first one, the if statement. So that this if statement executes code only if condition is true. Just exactly what scenario or whatever analogy I've given now to explain this. Given the instance of saying I get certain age, I get myself. So only if when that condition, the condition in the if is true, that is only when this code under this if will run. That's what you're trying to say. If I get to 18 years, I'll get myself a new phone. I'll get myself a new phone. It's more or less what will happen if the condition is true. So whatever I have written under this if will happen whenever the condition is true. will only run only if the condition specified is true. So let's look at the code here. This is a code snippet. So as we proceed, we'll be doing some live demo and live coding to explain some certain things. Alright. And if you have your PC, please also turn it on and make sure you have everything set up so you can follow. Alright, so let's have the age. So age here is 18. So this person is just saying if age is greater than or equal to 18, that means if my age is greater than 18, and what is age? Age is already 18, which is the value. This is the variable we are calling. So this is the value of this variable. So you are saying if this age is greater or equal to 18, let this happen. So you can say that you are an adult, you only print on my console only if when this condition inside here is true. So let's check age. The value of age is 18. So that means we are saying is 18 greater or equal to 18. Let's check. 18 is not greater than 18. That is true. But 18 is equal to 18. That means this thing will return, this condition will return true because you have certified a particular rule, meaning that age is equal to 18. For the ends that this is true, this code will run. But let's assume that age here becomes 20 or lower than maybe okay, so we are saying greater than. So let's say it becomes lower, like 16. Like 16. Then if we say 16 is greater or equal to 18, this will totally be false because 16 is not greater than 18 and 16 is not equal to 18. So this will return false. For that reason, this line of code will never run. This console log will never print. Alright, I hope that makes sense. Now the if key point here, if we only run only if when this condition is true. Then next one is the if else statement. So this is execute one block if true, another if false. Just like saying if something x, let this happen. So the same thing here, we can still use our age, or let's use, let me show the example of age, right? So I can say if age is greater than 18, console log I am adult, or you are an adult. X, console log you are not yet an adult, right? You can see that once I change this thing to 18, this condition is not met. Once this condition is not met, if there is an else statement, which you can see here, this else statement will run. This s, this is how we write the s. So you can see the syntax. So the keyword if, you have a parenthesis, these two parentheses. So inside this parenthesis is where we have our condition. What do you want to check? Alright, then you now have this curly brace. This is where we have our code. What we have. Then if you want to add x, after this closing the curly brace, you write your another x, then open another block of code. So these are block scope. You can remember this where we discuss about block scope. So we create our own block scope, and we can now write whatever happens here. So you can say this if s, like if is true, if we run. If is false, else will run. So you can just say that they are dependent on other. Before else will run, means that if is no longer true. That's what we are saying. So next one we'll be discussing is else if statement, and I call it a ladder because it goes on and on and on and on. It goes on and on. So this is for used for multiple conditions. Alright. So let's see this example we have here. So we have a score to hold a number of 75. So score is holding 75. So we are now checking if score is greater or equal to 19, we will print A. Then we now specify another condition. Then is where this else if comes in. Alright. So after the x, you start another one. You won't put your block. You start another if condition. Say after x, you give another condition. If you put the condition, then now this one now saying score is greater or equal to 70. Then another block of code. Then if there is still more change, I want to check more. I can still say if, then x, and I say if again, then I can write maybe score is less than maybe 60. But once I put x, means it will not check the whole of this condition. Only if when these conditions are false, will this else run? So let's check this code and see what we run here. So if score is greater or equal to 90, so we are saying is 75 greater than 90 or equal to 90. So it's that this is false. This one will never run. So we move to the next line and say, oh, there's another condition. Is score greater than 75 or equal to 75? Score is 75. That means 75 is greater than 70, which is true. So immediately it gets a condition that is true, it stops running. It won't even check the next. If there is other if statement, it won't check them. So once immediately it gets this one that can satisfy the rule, you just display this and returns this. It won't move forward anymore. It stops the code. So even I have another condition that is true below it, those conditions will not be met, will not check. Once it sees this first condition that is true, it ends the code. Right? So it's just looking for one condition to be true. So that is how we have for multiple conditions. So the next one, which is very important, is the switch. Is the switch statement. All right. Statement. So this is cleaner alternative to multiple else if. So I will do something. I believe you can see my screen. So this is my TypeScript. I'll have more file here. Let me say control, or let's say conditions. Conditional. I just call it the flow dot ts. So once I compile this, automatically it will create. I can compile this. Immediately I compile this, it will create. You can see it. This map and this JS. So it is very fast immediately. So I can change this. Let me relink. Instead of intro, I will link mine. So JS. Age, for instance, or let's say let age is a number equals, let's say 18, for instance. So let's use the if statement. So I can say if age is greater than 1, or let's say greater than 20, say log age is greater than 20. So I will repeat another one. I'll say x. I say if. I give my condition. So I can say this time around maybe age is less than, let's say 15. This is greater than. Say less than 15. I give another block of code. I can say log, nothing should happen. So here I can even decide not to say log. I can say alert, something else to happen. Alert here, and say age is lesser than 15. And I can go on and on to check other age. So I can say else if, and I keep giving that condition. I can say age is equal to, strictly equal to, or let's say weak, strictly equal to let's say 16, or let's say 14. And I will say something. I'll say, so let's use a log here. Log age is equal to 14. So I can go on and on and on and on. Alright, so you can see I can go and make this. This is why I call it a ladder, right? So I can keep checking as much as possible. So you check the first one, if this if is false, before you proceed to the next if. You proceed to the next, and you keep checking them. So why am I doing this? I want to show you why it's not why we recommend the switch. So I'm talking about the switch statement. We say it's a clean alternative to multiple x. Alright, it's a clean alternative to multiple s. So this kind of more clean way of having multiple else if statements. So you can see here that we are checking for a day. Let's say we have 7 days in a week, right? So we can say let's assume this day to be 2. So I cannot start checking the day. So I call the switch. Here is just like what I want to compare with. Alright, so I have this, then I make a case. This case is just like, oh, the value I am comparing with, or my kind of a condition. But this is basically the value we are providing to compare with this, make a condition with this day now we have here in our parentheses. So what happens here? We say case 1. So if we check, is 1 same thing as what day has? So that's what you're checking. What is day having 2? They say is 1 the same thing as day? If it's true, this will run, it will stop, it will break. The rest will not check. But if it's not true, it will proceed to case 2. Check case. What is the second one? Is this one, this value? So this can change. It's not only number. You can put whatever, anything you want to put here. You can put a string. You can put a boolean. Alright? So you can put anything. You can put a name, a string. That is a test. So you keep checking. And this default is just like our x. So once there is no condition that satisfies this parameter we have passed here, the default value will run. Alright, so let me show you. Let's see if we can interpret it with this age. Alright, so I can say switch let's use the age. Okay, hear me, you're here. So let's use the same variable age. So I can say switch age, then I open my brace. Then here is where I start having my case, right? So this case is a keyword. So you can see the case, you make a case. So what are you making on the case? I can say maybe let's say, since this is a number, I can't compare it with a string. Automatically it will give me an error. You can see I can't compare with a string because they are not the center. That is the benefit of using TypeScript. So it won't allow me to compare with a string since I've specified that age is a number. So I can say case, let's say 40. Case 40. Then I say what do I want to perform? What operation do I want to perform here after this case? So you just give a column, like when making a statement or an object, give a column and you can continue up. But the best practice is bringing down, right, to come below. Then you can now write whatever you want to happen. So I can say I want to log let's say age is 40, for instance. Right? Then after this, I will break. So I just use the keyword break and close it. So if I want to make another case, I proceed again. I have another case. I will say maybe let's say 19. I break. I say what do I want to perform here? I can say alert age is 29. After this, I break out from this, and so on and so forth. So if there is no other one, I can have my default. The default just have this, and you just end the code. So I can say log I can say invalid input, invalid input. All right, so if I run this code, so let's see what will happen here. What runs here and what will run here. So this is almost the same way of writing this same long. Repeating yourself if else, if else, if else, right? Making it long. This is a neater way to write. So you can have multiple cases, right? You can have multiple cases and so on and so forth. So let's run this code and see what we have. All right. All right. So after testing this, we quickly dive into loops. So I believe there is no question. If there is a question so far, please notify me on that. Valid input. Valid input. Valid input. Let's see why it's showing only invalid input. So what happens here? You can see that it means that there is no of this. So for that reason, it didn't even run any of this. But I wish I have X here. I have X here, and I say log. I say invalid. I say invalid. Right. So you can now see the S will run. For this, for the switch case, that default runs when there is no one specified. So let's say I change this now to maybe 18. I change this to 18, and let's make one of these condition correct. Let's say 18 here. Let's say 18. So you see that what happens here? The alert runs because you look for 18. This one now the console log will run. But on 18, we say alert should run. You can see that if I refresh here now and run again, you can see it's taking up, it's changing, right? It's compiling as I'm running each code. So you see age is, print age is 18. So that is condition for you. I hope it's clear so far. All right. So next we'll be moving into loop. Loops. So loops overview, just like we discussed on conditional statement, we have the if else, so on and so forth. Same on loops. So these are the primary loops or most common loops you will see while using Typescript. Alright, other ones you might be seeing might be a common and primary, meaning it will run for everything you are doing. Is these 5 loops I've mentioned. So first one is the for, second one is the why, third one is the do while, the fourth one is for up loop, and the last one for in loop. Alright, so we'll be breaking down each of these loop and why, how they work and why we should use this. So the first one is the for loop. So you might have seen, you have been using something loop. So another word for loop is iterating or repeat. Alright, so you might have think of something. You are playing a music and you just click a button that is saying loop, and that music will keep repeating and keep repeating and keep repeating and keep repeating until maybe your battery offs, or you, if you are using internet, maybe you lost internet, or you off the loop. So the loop says keep running as far the condition is correct. So that is what loop is saying, helping us to iterate, to run something as much as possible as we want. So this for loop say best when numbers of iteration is known. So what we mean, when you know how many times something will run. For instance, I say, let's say use a real life scenario now. Your normal ATM card, you go to the ATM machine, right? And you put the first pin, it gives you error. It gives you another option. Enter your pin again. That is second time. And I believe after 3 attempts, what you will see, your card has been seized or blocked, meaning maybe they're suspecting fraud or whatever. So you can see that they know the number of iteration. It must not be more than, it's just 3 at most. At most. So you can see that you know that just 3 times, as long as it won't exceed 3 times. So I know the number of times at most this will iterate or it will repeat. So it's best for me to use a for loop. So what's the syntax? How you use the keyword for, then we specify the variable inside. So we say let I, or specify it, use this semicolon to separate. Next one is the condition. We'll give a condition. If this I we specify is, consider we know it. This is what makes us know how many times this one will run. This number we are specifying. So if it's greater than, if it's less than 5, keep incrementing. Alright, so let me break down what is happening here. So we say let I equals 0. So you now see that by default, if the letter I or the string I has the value of number 0 assigned to it. Then we are saying if this I, which is 0, is less than 5, add 1 to it. That means add plus 1. So in our check, I is 0. So is 0 less than 5? You say yes, it's true. So this condition will run, this whole thing will run on if this condition is true, just the same way we have our conditions. So it's only true. Only when it's true, that is when it will run. So these are the conditions. Whenever I say a condition, it will only run whenever it's true. So as long as I is less than 5, this code will keep running. So the first one to go, I, which is 0, is less than 5. It will console log I, which is 0. It will come back and increment this I from 0 to plus plus. That means by 1. Increment it by 1 becomes 1. So in our check, is 1 less than 5? You say true. 1 is less than 5. It will run it. It will console log, which is the current iteration, which has added 1. I becomes 1 here. It will print 1. It comes back again. Do I plus plus. Here now, instead of 1, increment by 1 again becomes 2. You check, is 2 less than 5? It says true. It prints 2. You increment again to 3. It checks again. Is 3 less than 5? It says true. It runs 3. Increment again 4. It says 4 is less than 5. It says true. It still runs print 4. You continue. It increment becomes 5. Now say 5 less than 5. It says no. 5 is not less than 5. Rather, 5 is equal to 5. But the reason that 5 is not less than 5, which is making this condition false, it stops. So immediately it gets to this condition to be false, whatever you have here stops. So that's what we are saying. So this for, and this scenario happens for almost every loop we are doing. Right? The condition is met, keep running. And the condition is met, keep running. Right. So the for loop is when the number of iteration is known. So the while loop runs while condition is true. Alright, but I want to show that. So when to use while loop? So when you don't know how many times it will run. So the for loops actually say when you know the number of iteration, number of times this will run, it's best to use for loop. While loop say when you don't know how many times this thing will run. Alright? You don't know how many times it will run. So it's best to use a while loop. To keep as far as that condition is being met. Sorry. Keep running. So it depends on the condition. So this is just the same way you use the first of all, see the difference here now. You can see the for loop. We make a variable inside this parenthesis. But for while loop, you set the variable outside. Set it outside. Then inside this parenthesis, we only have the condition. Only the condition. Then the increment comes after the end of the code. So let me explain this while loop with this password stuff. So let me assume there is no this code here. Okay, let's say this is the password. So want to tell a user to enter his or her password. Keep entering your password until it's correct. You don't want to block it. Right? You want to give you limited access to try. Keep trying. I think something like Facebook. I don't know if they have a limited number of times you can run and try incorrect password, but I think it's infinite loop. I don't think they restrict it. So that is another example. I've not tried, we have restricted it. But let's assume we want to give them that place to run as much as possible. As far the password is incorrect, to keep giving you option to try, keep trying. So you can try 1 million times. Like you can try 10 million times as your strength can go. So you can see that this is the while loop what he's doing now. So he keep checking if this password is equal to the original password. If it's equal, if I didn't put this password, I will tell you what this password is doing here. So if I say if this password you provide is not equal to this, keep telling me enter password again, enter password again. So as long as you are putting a wrong password, which is not 1234, it will keep telling you enter password. So it will run infinite, it will run until you get tired, or until you get correctly, or until you get this value correctly, until this condition is correct. So I'm only placing this password to reassign. So if it's not correct, we just reassign password to the default number just to stop the loop from repeating. So that's what we are doing here. So we stimulate the input. So just reassign the main value to the password. So next time it will run, it will be same password instead of empty, it will be same password to be 1234. So because is password not equal to password. You say true. They are both equal. Right? So we did this logic. So we say is password not equal. So if it's empty, we are trying to say that empty is not equal to this, which is true, it will run. But once it's 1, 2, 3, if we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 I mean is not equal to, it means that we are lying. This is false. Because actually 1, 2, 3, 4 is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. So stop. That is the while loop. So the next one is the do while loop. So this execute at least once. This execute at least once before a condition is taken. Just take this illustration or this analogy. You open a, okay, let's say MTN code, and I believe they do that. You type their code, it brings you an option 1 and 2 to choose something. If you press another number, it brings you back to the menu. If you press a wrong number, it brings you back to that option to choose 1 or 2. If you press another number, it brings you back. Right? So you can see that before checking the code, it will actually bring the login for you, the menu to choose. That means it runs something first before actually showing you. So to achieve that scenario, we use the do while. We use the do while. So we use the syntax the same way we set the variable aside for y. I equals the number we set to 0. Then we'll say do. It will first of all run whatever that this is increment before checking the condition. That is what is happening here. So if I say do this, so number now will now become, this number will now become, as you've seen, it prints 0. First one it will print 0 for me. It will increment it by 1. So it now become is this one less than 5, which is this we are checking. Is it less than? If it's true, it continues. It continue running. Right? If it's true, let's say I have multiple this thing. If it's true, if the condition here is true, it will print I again, it will repeat again. But once this man is false, it will stop. But if you run it again without checking whether I is less than 5, it will print I. So we'll do that as an example now before we proceed to the next one. Okay. So I will open another. Okay. Let me open another. Let me just add it here. Let me just say this is loose. I say do y loop. Y loops. Alright, so let me set a variable to be, let's use I. Don't think I've set I before. And I assign it to be a number, to be 0. Then I will say do something. You see a block of code. So I can say log I, for instance, let's use similar example we had before, and keep incrementing if it's true. So to have I plus plus. So it's to keep adding it if it's true. Then we now have our condition here, y. So what are we checking? Let's say maybe I is less than 5. So once I is less than 5, it will stop. It will stop. So let me comment on this. Let me just change this to be 90. Let's say 90. Okay. I want to see the console of okay, so I will refresh again. So you see what is happening here. This is line. It is how many times it's running. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is what is running here. So what happens here? First of all, check. You first of all print this one without checking any condition. Alright. So let's make this to be wrong. So let's say I here is 5 by default. So that means if first checking you check is 5, is it less than 5, which is actually false, it will stop. So look at what will happen. It's that it first of all print 5 for me. So this code runs first. After running it, it will check, is it true? Is not true. It won't continue again. So it will check. After doing this, say is 5 less than 5? Say no. It won't continue again. But if it's true, it keep running. So let's say this is 4. So it says, if first of all print 4, you can see, you print 4, number 4. It iterates. 4 plus 1 becomes 5. It checks. Is 5 less than 5? It says no. Stops running, but it runs at least once. So if we have 3 here, we keep checking that one. So this will run 3 and 4. And when you increment this, it won't run anymore. So that is how this one runs. The do while. Okay, let's proceed. So when to use the do while? When the code must run at least once, which is what we have checked. Something like the menus and a prompt, when you have to keep prompting a user. Just like this. You can say play, exit. So for the user, as long as the user choose 1 or 2 or choose another thing, you keep showing him this menu. Keep showing this menu until you choose 1 or 2. And that is it. Then this is just made it bold. To see, so you can say choice. You keep showing this, enter your choice, 1 or 2. So you keep telling him, enter your choice, 1 or 2, enter your choice until it enters 1 or 2. If it enters 1, something happens. And if it enters 2, exit. So that is the condition. If not, it keeps running again. So next one is a for loop. So this for loop, I will bring it back in our next workshop. We'll be talking about arrays objects. But I'll just give you an idea of how what this thing does. Alright, so this is mainly used for arrays iteration, right? For iterating arrays. So what are arrays? Alright, so these are scenario whereby we make a single variable to accept multiple values. Alright, what do I mean? For instance, our normal variable, I can say let's say maybe y. I say y is a string, right? Equals maybe, let's say, letter A. Right? If I do this, or I can say B, letter B, C, I'm still holding, my computer is still seeing this man as 1. It's still seeing the whole of this as 1. So just seeing it as A, B, C, A, comma B, comma C, comma D. Right? So in the case where I want them to stand alone, I want A to be alone, B to be alone, C to be alone. So these are single letters. I want to split them. So these are where you can say arrays can go serially, just like this. Each of these to duplicate them. So for array, and it will be wrong for me to do something like maybe A, comma, I already have an error, alright, comma. It will be wrong, maybe trying to use a comma to separate them. Very, very wrong. So array helps us to hold this. Array helps us to do that in this thing. First of all, specify that this string will be array. Then we cannot open it with array. So we use this syntax to create it. Is what we use in creating it. So inside here now I can now specify A, give a comma, B, give a comma, C, give a comma, D, and so on and so forth. So this element stands alone. A, B, C. You can see it's separated by comma. So if I print, if I log y, let's see what we have. So y, you see, is printed A, B, C, and D. Alright, so let's go back. So this is how we get array. Whatever you want. Take also maybe scores for your students. Maybe you are 100 students, want to take scores for each person for a particular course. Alright, so or the age for all students. You can also arrange them like this. They are just single elements. Alright, so now we are talking about this for up. So what does this for up help us to do for this array? So since you can see that this runs just maybe as a one program, but they are separated, so I can actually access them by their index number. But in the case where I don't want to access them by their index number, I want them to be standing alone like a separate variable using that same name. For each one will stand outside, they stand separately, they are different things. So I have to iterate using that in loop. For example, we have here. So if I run this, so this apple, so let me use it on my code so that we can see what I'm doing. So let's iterate over this using the for of loop. So I think we have y. So I can say we use the for like the normal for loop. Then we say give a variable, just normal variable that can select capital letter y, for instance, and we're using small letter y of small letter y. So we are saying this will now represent the new variable of this one. So each of these value in this one will use capital letter y to represent each person of them. So we can now run. So if I print y, so you can see these are the name, the key, and this is the value. So it's separate with it. So we'll discuss this in our next workshop, objects and arrays. Right. So this for in help us just like the same way we did for arrays, that it takes up each element separately. What it does, it takes out each of this key separately. Right? It takes the key separately out of it. Just separate the keys. So if I iterate through this one, it will bring out name, it will bring out age. So I can access this one with each of these ones to print separately. So let me give you what I mean. So I can say let car. So why I said that this is a perfect way to use interface. So define this, you can use the interface and say car. Open this. So this car will have a name, and the name will be string. Okay. This car will have a make, and the make will be number. Let's just use this. Okay, let's add, maybe let's say year, and the year will be a number also. So when calling the actual car for object, now model the car and say, so this car must have a name. You can see immediately I press it to give me a name must be, let's say BMW. The next one, if I take control space, it will give me options. You can see. So it must have a make and a year. So I can say make accept a number. So let's say, I don't know, let's just pick random, maybe 2017. And you can have a year. I don't know if it's here. You can have 2020. I'm just picking on that. So this is exactly what I'm using with my interface. Alright, so for the for in loop, what it does is these are the keys, the name, make, and year, and they have a value attached to them. For every key has a value. That's the way we have defined it. Alright, so if I iterate to this, I can say for let's say C, capital letter, let's use C in capital letter car. It will run through it log, or let's say key. Alright, since we are running key, so it makes sense. So I say let key. So if I print the key, you see that it will be printing out the keys for me. Do I need to run you again? Should be fast. Should be fast. Alright, good. So you can see that it's printing out the key for me, name, make, and year. It's printing out the keys. So I can actually use this key to access each of these ones. So maybe if I want to get each of those values together with the key, since I have the key, I can use this sign and say I can say key. Okay, let's just say key. Let me use dollar sign and say key, because it gets the key and it assign it to car, capital letter car, is value of key. So perhaps you've heard of it. Okay. I have keys. Set it aside.
Make sure you're loving yourself. I remember breakups, heartbroken. She'd let us.
Okay. So elements usually have an any type plus expression. Alright, so you can see this will be another topic, index type. So I'm going to specify an index type every time using this key. I use the type of. Alright, so we'll discuss this. So let me just give accessing this class.
Just told me right now.
So specify the type of in our object when defining it.
Okay.
Tell them that we are
So we are
also
discussing
victim
objects and we
sinners.
do that.
We choose
So
the
let's
sins
just
we are
say
comfortable with and judge other for the
is,
ones we cannot accept.
and I got maybe
Goodness! Where'd you learn that from? Someone's been reading.
car,
Oh.
and I will access it with maybe say better still, let me leave the keys for now. Let me just leave the key so I don't have to move further. Alright. So what I was actually trying to achieve here, but maybe in our next workshop, I don't want to spend more time on this object, is to use each of these keys of this key to access the value of class. But Typescript says I cannot do that until I specify the index type of, right? So I think if I'm to do that in my interface, specify the key, say these are not unique. Say I think.
Yeah.
I've been looking at your TikToks, especially the ones about university. I'm going this fall. I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my next 4 years.
So you're gonna go and you want to get the most out of those 4 years.
Yeah.
If I had 4 years, man, I would go with you. So I'll give you the answer that I wish I could have done, but I don't have time to do now. First off, I would care this much about my grades, I just can't get kicked out.
Okay.
Because my parents will be upset.
So to treat
Find the smartest people that
this
you can
index.
meet. Spend as much time as you can with them without being
Next
weird.
class.
Like when you build your business.
Alright,
and
so
your
the idea in
gets
this
shut down,
key in or for in is just to iterate, make them stand alone. So but it picks only the keys. It picks only the keys. Picks only the keys. So Angular JavaScript will allow me to insert this key directly to this value. But Typescript says no. So we crack out that index in our next class. Typescript says no, I cannot insert that. Alright. So the next important topic we'll be discussing is the break and continue. So in every loop, there is also an important keyword, the break and the continue. So this break actually stops the loops totally, just like we see in switch. We're using the break, so it's important to stop the loop. But the continue just keeps a one iteration, the current iteration, and moves to the next one. So for the stop, let's say we're using the for loop, and we give a condition here, a control flow to say once the I, which is this value that is incrementing, gets to 5, stop. Once it gets to 5, stop. Right? So what happens here is if you keep checking, when it's 5, it will just end the code. It will run more than this. So let me show you a example of what we have. So I will remove, let me comment all of these arrays and objects so you don't get confused. So let's say I have let's I equals 0. I say if I is less than 5 or less than 10, keep increasing I.
A neighborhood landmark has been restored in Brentwood. This new
And I say if I is equal, once you get to 5, break the code. So what will happen here is that once it gets the first iteration, it will run. Let me print here. So I will say log I. I say log I. So what happens here is that I don't know why I need to repeat this code always. So I should have done justice to this. It's in my code. structure properly. Let me check. Let me cancel this space. Hold on. That is stupid. So you see what is happening here. So the first loop checks is I less than 10. He said no, I is 0. To print 0, increment by 1. But when it gets to 5, it also checks this condition. Is I equals to 5? He said no. But once it gets to the first instead increment by 4, it is 4 equal to this, it will say no, it will run. It will become 5, it will print 5. Then I say, is 5 equal to 5? You say yes, then break. That's why we are seeing 5 here. But if I bring this code downward, that it checks this condition before printing, we will not see 5. We will not see 5. Alright, so you see that it ends at 4. So immediately it checks here, say is I equals to 5. It says true, it will stop. This code will not run again. But if it's at the beginning, the code runs first before checking this. So that's what I mean by break. Alright, the next one is continue. Continue just keep a current iteration. So like I can say if I is equal to
I hope you find something, sir.
5, continue. So what it means, once you get to 5,
It's
it
so
will
funny.
skip 5 and
I've
continue
tried
with
to do
6.
DMT twice.
You can
and
see
I
it's
haven't
1,
actually
2,
broken
3,
It's hard.
4. When
It's
you get
really
to
hard.
5,
I think
it
I've
skips
already
that
broken
iteration of
two.
5
How?
because of continue. And
Like
continue the next
You mean
iteration.
life or?
Life!
So
I
it
feel
starts
like I've
from
already
6.
broken
No,
through.
but the weird thing
So
is
if
once
I
you
say
break
if
through on a drug, you
I
realize that
equals
life
to
is the trip. No
5,
lie, that's what you realize.
Life
or
is the trip, and the acid of life is creativity.
I
Oh, it's so funny.
equal
I've tried to do DMT
to,
twice.
let's say, 4, and so on and so forth. So you see, first of all, 1, 2, 3. When it gets to 4, you skip it. You skip 5 too because you're checking for 5. So let me make it maybe 8. So not too far. So you can see 5 is skip 5, 6. When it gets to 8, you skip 8 and it goes to 9. So that's what this continues with. You skip that current iteration.
Well, now 1 4. Light no day. What is that?
So that is the break. That is the break that stops the loop completely, and the continue that skips one iteration. Alright. So now is question time. Question time.